We don't need another janitor. We need a technician. But since you're here, start with that floor." The words, laced with disdain, fell from Master Sergeant Carter's lips. A few younger airmen, eager to curry favor with the man who ruled their daily lives, let out stifled chuckles. The woman didn't respond. She didn't glance at Carter or acknowledge the laughter echoing through the vast hangar. Her eyes were fixed on the far wall, where the massive door of the advanced weapons vault stood unyielding. She reached out, took the mop handle he thrust toward her, and gripped it firmly, her face unreadable. Her silence swallowed the insults, leaving no trace. Across the hangar, a visiting colonel, there to oversee launch preparations, paused. He noticed how her unadorned fingers curled around the worn wood. He saw her stance not slouched in defeat, but perfectly balanced, her weight distributed with a precision he hadn't seen in years. It was a hint of something disciplined, something rare. If you believe competence is proven, not proclaimed, type proven in the comments. The quiet professional turned and began mopping. The steady swish of the mop on the polished concrete, the only sound in a room heavy with unspoken judgment. The situation was critical. The new X-Lock security system on the squadron's primary weapons vault had failed frozen solid, a digital ghost locking away millions in mission-critical ordnance and guidance systems. For 3 grueling hours, Master Sergeant Carter and his team had tried everything: power cycles, remote overrides, and poring over digital schematics until their eyes ached. The result? A single, taunting red light on the control panel. Carter's frustration had turned to rage, and the arrival of this unassuming woman sent from some obscure tech division felt like a slap in the face. Her plain blue coveralls bore no name, no rank, no insignia. She looked more like a lost maintenance worker than the elite specialist he'd been promised. Handing her a mop wasn't just dismissive. It was a public rejection of Command's solution. Carter ruled this hangar, and he wouldn't be upstaged. Yet her calm acceptance of the humiliating task unsettled him. She mopped with uncanny precision, straight lines, crisp turns, no wasted motion, no trace of resentment. It was the calm of a still sea, hiding immense power beneath. The pressure in the hangar grew with each passing minute. The sortie was tied to satellite trajectories and theater-level objectives. Without the targeting pods and munitions in that vault, the jets outside were just expensive shells. The colonel, his face etched with years of deployments, approached Carter, his boots echoing with quiet authority. "Master Sergeant," he said, his voice low but sharp. "Status report. The window's closing. Is the specialist making progress?" The question was a command in disguise. Carter's face flushed. He had to admit failure. Jaw tight, he barked across the hangar. "All right, specialist. You're up. Let's see what Command's genius sent us." The woman stopped mopping. Unhurried, she propped the mop against the wall, ensuring it stood perfectly upright. Then she walked toward the steel vault, carrying no tools, no tablet, no equipment. The airmen watched, curiosity mixed with skepticism. The hangar fell silent, the hum of ventilation the only sound. She didn't glance at the unresponsive keypad. Instead, she studied the door seams where steel met reinforced frame. Every seasoned warrior in the room noticed small details: the absolute stillness of her posture, the way her bare fingertips traced the cold metal, not a caress, but a precise scan, like a sensor reading a fault line. Her breathing was slow, deliberate, a masterclass in composure. Then she began, not with a code, but a rhythmic series of firm, soft taps with the heel of her hand on the doorframe, far from the electronic interface. Tap, 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 tap. It was a language of vibration, a dialogue with the machine's core. The airman stared, confused. Carter scoffed, muttering, "What is this Morse code?" But the colonel's eyes widened, a distant memory stirring. She shifted, her fingers finding a nearly invisible seam near the primary magnetic actuator. She pressed one finger into the joint, then delivered a final, precise strike to an unmarked spot on the frame. No crash, just a deep, resonant thunk from within, the sound of immense pressure releasing. The red light blinked once, then went dark. With a soft hiss, the heavy steel door swung inward, unlocked. For 10 seconds, the only movement was the door's slow arc. The silence was total, erasing the earlier snickers and arrogance. It was the sound of the impossible made real. Carter stood frozen, mouth agape, his planned retort dissolving. He looked from the open door to the woman and back, his mind trained on protocols and manuals unable to process what he'd witnessed. "No," he whispered. "No way. There's no manual override. No physical bypass." He stepped closer, inspecting the frame for a hidden switch or keyhole. Nothing, just smooth steel. The woman stood by the open door, waiting, her work complete. She hadn't broken the lock. She had spoken to it in a language Carter didn't know existed. His world of technical certainty shattered under her quiet competence. The colonel moved first, striding past the stunned Carter, his eyes fixed on the woman with profound respect. "Groom Lake," he said quietly, the words heavy with revelation. "I haven't seen the T0 protocol in 20 years. Not since the desert." He turned to his aide, a young captain clutching a data slate. "Captain, pull the file for our specialist. Authorization code Sierra Tango November 6th. The captain's fingers raced across the screen. He paled as the file loaded, eyes widening. "Sir, it's mostly redacted. Name, Dr. Elise Harper. Clearance level Onyx. Unit affiliation unlisted. Just a call sign Spectre." He swallowed, reading on. "One note in special skills, sir. Lead design architect and chief field implementer." The hangar seemed to shrink. The colonel looked at Dr. Harper, and everyone saw her not as a janitor, but as the mind behind the vault itself. The revelation hit the airmen like a shockwave. The woman they'd watched mop the floor wasn't just a technician, she was the creator. She hadn't bypassed the system. She'd used its hidden key, known only to its architect. The colonel, a man of decades in command, straightened into a formal stance of attention, a rare gesture of respect from a flag officer to a civilian. "Dr. Harper," he said, his voice resonating with sincerity. "On behalf of the 44th Fighter Squadron, thank you. You saved this mission." He turned, his gaze cutting through the stunned crowd to Carter. The air grew colder. "Master Sergeant," the colonel said, his voice now steel and ice. "Assumptions are the enemy of readiness. True competence doesn't always wear a uniform or announce itself. Sometimes it carries a mop to test who in the room can lead and who merely commands. I trust this lesson will stick." The story spread through the base not like wildfire, but like a shift in the air. It became known as the Harper Protocol. In mess halls and maintenance bays, the tale grew, each retelling refining its legend. It was a story of a quiet civilian who unlocked the unbreakable with her hands and secret knowledge, a parable about the peril of assumptions, a reminder that the most unassuming person might be the most capable. Carter's punishment wasn't formal. It was written in the faces of his airmen. His once loud authority, built on bravado, had crumbled. But to his credit, the lesson took root. He grew quieter, more observant, asking junior mechanics for their input with a newfound intensity. His arrogance was replaced by hard-earned humility. The loudest man in the hangar had learned to listen, his true leadership journey just beginning, sparked by the silent professionalism of Dr. Harper. Dr. Harper deflected attention. She spent an hour inside the vault, her fingers moving over internal panels with the same precision she'd shown mopping. She found a microscopic fracture in a tertiary power conduit, a flaw no one else could have detected. She submitted a concise report, briefed the colonel, and prepared to leave. As she walked toward the hangar door, a young airman, one who had laughed loudest, jogged to catch up, his face a mix of shame and awe. "Ma'am, Dr. Harper," he stammered. "Ah oui, I am sorry." She paused, her eyes analytical but not cold. He took a breath and asked, "How did you know to do that with the taps?" A faint smile crossed her face, a crack in her stoic demeanor. "The designer," she said softly, "always leaves a key under the mat. You just have to know the house." With that, she walked out, vanishing as quietly as she'd arrived, leaving behind a legacy of stunned silence and respect. Months later, the hangar's culture had transformed. New personnel, civilian or enlisted, were met with professional courtesy. Their ideas were valued, their presence respected. Carter, now a mentor rather than a tyrant, used the vault as a teaching tool for new NCOs. Pointing to an unmarked spot on the doorframe, he'd say, "That's the Harper point. It reminds us the most powerful system in the Air Force isn't the hardware in this Kaji, it's the mind of the person you're about to dismiss." Never mistake silence for weakness or humility for incompetence. The Legend of Dr. Harper became doctrine, a living lesson that true authority isn't granted by rank, but proven in crisis. Legacy isn't proclaimed, it's the standard you set, a quiet competence that elevates everyone long after you're gone. For more stories where silent professionalism triumphs over loud assumptions, subscribe for more.